All right,
Hello?
now we're live, and
Hey.
you can hear us.
Hi.
Weird. Hello. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Hello. Welcome to Redeemer Youth. We're here again. I think we were muted or something earlier.
I guess
but,
so.
You know, whatever. It is what it is. So, Baco, you've got a nice little beard thing going on here. I don't know if
yeah.
you guys can see that or not. Baco's... I
haven't shaved in like 6 months. to be
I
honest.
just freshly shaved yesterday. I got nothing. My baby face. Oh, my gosh. Well, hey, we hope you guys have been having a great week. Redeemer Youth, we're kicking off. We just, if this is your first time with us, we actually just wrapped up a series this last week, 3-week kind of conversation called Relationship Goals. Baco, we've been talking about it quite a bit.
Yep.
For you, think back to your high school days.
Yeah.
When it came to relationships, what was like your biggest I'm an idiot moment when it came to friendships or relationships or like any of that kind of stuff?
What's my... I'm not too sure. To be honest, high school was like 5 years ago, and I don't remember.
It's just one big blur of I'm an
Yes.
idiot. What's going on? I'm not sure what's happening. Yeah, so I shared in the series a number of times, so I got to give a couple of the message. I shared a handful of times of how big of an idiot I was when it came to relationships. I was a mess. And so that was that. But we are starting a brand new series tonight.
Yeah.
Baco, do you know what the series is?
The series is... I don't...
No, Baco's not
wait,
sure.
Hold on. No, I don't. I'm not sure.
Baco is unknown for what our series is. It's blurry again. I don't know why I keep showing you guys stuff on this. It's all blurry. We are starting a brand new series called Unknown. It's all about identity. It's actually going to be a lot of fun. The messages over these next 4 weeks, so we're going to be having this conversation for 4 weeks around identity and how so many of us live as though we are unknown to ourselves, unknown to the world, because we put on like these fake identities, these fake things. We hide behind these fears and things in us instead of living into who God created us to be, instead of living fully known.
Yeah,
So
it
I'm
reminds me of high school. Yeah.
I'm super pumped for this series. I think it's going to be awesome. We got a lot of fun stuff planned. For those of you watching online, we love that you're here. We also have some giveaway things that we are giving to people who show up in person. But I'll tell you what, if you leave a comment down below, I will find you, and if we can connect and I get your address, I will mail you some of the giveaways if we have any extras.
So comment down below.
So comment down below. I'll reach out.
Win a
We'll
prize.
connect. Win a prize. We'll make it happen. It'll be good stuff. So I think that's what we can do. So we got some fun stuff in store for tonight as well. Every week we typically have some kind of announcement, some headlines of some sort. We don't have any tonight, Baco.
Nope.
So
I was surprised actually.
Yeah, let's share our own personal headlines. Let's share what's happening in the headline in the life of Baco.
Well, nothing much, to be honest. It's school, work. I mean, I'm planning on getting new tires for my car. I mean, that's pretty much it. But
You see, high schoolers, this is what you have to look forward to. The highlight of your life is when you get new tires for your car. Oh my goodness. So we've got that going for us, I suppose.
yeah. How about you, Brian?
My highlight for the week is that my dad is actually spending the week with us. Long story, but he's with us. My 2 young boys thinking it's the coolest thing in the world that their grandpa is spending the week.
That's awesome.
They think he's there just to spend forever with them. They have no idea what's actually going on. All of the things. It's all good.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
Yeah.
So the boys are going nuts. I think it's super fun. I don't know. I haven't gotten to hang out with my dad in a long time, so we're having some good
awesome.
quality bonding time. Me and my dad and my
pops.
boys. So that's highlight in the life of Brian. So with that, okay, we got a couple minutes left. I think we need to play a game.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so last week we started this game 1 versus 1,000. I think we need to play it again. So
Yeah. I
1
remember that Supreme hat.
Yes,
No.
come on now. 1 versus 1,000. We need to find someone who is going to play. Baco, I see some people already. Mackenzie, get over here.
Get over here.
You're going to be in our pre-show. Mackenzie, you are going to play a game. Mackenzie, hello. Introduce yourself to the world.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I'm a senior. That's all I got. Hi.
Mackenzie, who is a senior, that's all she's got. Hi. Okay, Mackenzie, you are going to play a game
Oh, okay.
called 1 versus 1,000. Okay? The game is really simple. We're going to show you two different things, and you need to tell us, is one of these items more expensive than 1,000 of these other items, okay? Pretty simple.
Okay, I
So,
got this.
you ready for your first round?
Yeah, I got
Okay,
this.
are you guys ready for Mackenzie's first round?
Yeah.
So, what is more expensive? One earpod case set
Right.
grouping,
Yeah.
or 1,000 Doritos?
Like individual Doritos?
Individual Doritos. One set of AirPods or 1,000 Dorito chips.
That's hard. That's kind of hard. I'd say the AirPods are more expensive, though.
The AirPods are more expensive.
I say Doritos.
Doritos.
Okay, but you get a lot in a bag, and a bag's only like $3.
That's truth. All right, let's see what the. Oh, you are a big time winner. Yeah, AirPods. Yeah, 1,000 Doritos are only $22.50. So
So I'm winning.
you nailed it.
So-
You nailed it. All right, let's try the next one. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, your next one.
I'm not gonna get
One laptop or 1,000 Starbucks coffees.
Oh, Starbucks coffees.
1,000
What kind of
Starbucks
laptop?
coffees. I don't know. Fancier than one that I got. I can tell you that much right now.
Coffees. I'm going
Coffees.
with
1,000
Yeah, I'm going with
coffees.
coffee too.
You are 100% right.
That's not even
This
close.
brand new laptop was $1,499. 1,000 Caribou coffees, $12,990.
That has to be like the most expensive coffee, right?
That is
because that's like
insane.
$12.99.
Yeah, I mean, I got to assume taxes in there. That's insane. All right, one Canon camera or 1,000 M&Ms.
A camera.
Yeah, definitely
Camera.
camera.
I'd say a camera. That
Camera.
sounds like a no-brainer to me.
No
What?
way.
1,000?
way.
Okay, this has got to be 1,000 packs of M&Ms. 'cause
$3,000 camera?
there ain't no way.
That's not even real.
Oh my.
I
That-
don't believe that one.
Yeah, I don't believe this
I
one
don't
either.
believe that one.
I don't know who made this game, but it's all over. Okay, one last one.
Okay. Okay.
One
I got
more.
This.
You ready?
I got this.
Okay. One brand new car. I don't know cars, so I don't know what kind of car this is.
Looks like a Chevy.
A Chevy
That's a Toyota.
gray
Toyota
Toyota. It's a
Civic?
blurry car. You can't
no,
see it.
that's Honda.
You can't see it.
Toyota.
It's a Honda Chevy Accord Toyota.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
One of those or 1,000 red hot bottles of hot sauce. These are the jugs of hot sauce.
I don't know how much one of those is. I'd say car, because cars are pretty pricey.
Cars
Yeah,
are
I'd say
pricey.
car. If it's new, I'd definitely go with car.
I'm gonna go with these hot sauce. That's a lot of
I don't
hot
know.
sauce.
That is a lot of
You
hot
could
sauce.
fill that car with this amount of hot sauce. Okay, let's see. It's the hot sauce. I was right.
Well, that's
Yeah. It's okay.
5,000 for a
It's-
car? Or
I don't know.
It's fine.
It was a lot. The car was just shy of 6,000. The hot sauce was 11,280. So Mackenzie, thank you for playing 1 versus 1,000. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new game and all kinds of new stuff. But we're gonna get rocking here in a minute. We've actually got something special to kick off the night for you. So hang tight,
Yep.
and we'll see you back in just a couple minutes.
chased and now faded. All the cheap thrills were only time-faced. Society's push to find who I am. Surely there's a higher way. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. Na 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 na. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 I don't want a stereotype to decide who I am. Trying to fix life 'cause it's not never lasts. I'm going home. All of the lights are chasing now faded. Feeling was right, the times they are changing. Tell me why society should define who I am. Surely there's a higher way. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. Na 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 na. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. All of my best friends are sick of pretending. We want the truth. Na 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 na. So much is missing. So give us the real thing. I know it's you. I know it's you.
What is up, Redeemer Youth? How you guys doing? Good. Hey, let's give it up for our worship team, our band. These guys are awesome. Yeah. Welcome, you guys that are here. If you're watching online, we are so glad that you guys are here. We're going to kick off the night with actually a game that everybody can play along with. We're going to be having a little bit of fun. This game, if you cue slide, is called You'll Have FOMO. If you don't know Mo, well, we exploded in slow-mo. That is an obnoxious title for a ridiculous game. Baco, you're away from your base and you're back up front with me. Hello. Hey. All right. So this game is really, really simple, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to show a video that's going to be played in slow motion in reverse, okay? And it's a video of something exploding, and you have to try to guess what the thing actually is that is exploding, all right? So before it all like whoops back together, you have to decide what it is. So we're going to show the video, and you need to shout out your answers, and we're going to see if anybody actually guesses it correctly. Are you ready? All right, if you guys are watching, are you ready? I can't hear you, so I don't know what you can type. Yeah, I'm ready. I don't know. You can do what you want. Okay, here we go. First video. Let's see it. Shout out your answers. What do you think that is? Sandcastle.
I think it's a car.
A what?
A car.
A ball of dirt. A ball of dirt. It's a sandcastle. All right, sandcastle was like the first guess. You nailed it. That was an easy one, okay? That was an easy one. You guys get the concept of the game now? Baco, you're online? You got this? Okay. Baco, I think we need another one.
Yeah.
All right, let's show the next one. Swing up the next video. An air canister. I'll give you a hint. Middle school boys.
Axe.
The unanimous Axe body spray, everybody. That was too big of a hint. You guys remember good old middle school, like just showering in that stuff? Oh, so many horrible memories. Okay, let's go to the next one. Shout out your answers. What is it?
Glass.
Light bulb, glass. A bottle. Tape. Tape. A pot of coffee. I don't think anybody said a pot of coffee. That's like the kind of pot of coffee you get like at a motel. That was a weird one. I don't know about that one. Okay, let's go to the next one. What do you think? Another pot of coffee. A skull.
Lobster.
A lobster. A creepy animal skull is what that one was. I don't like that one at all. That was a little bit creepy for me. I don't like that. All right, next one. I don't know how many of these there are.
Guitar.
Okay, obviously guitar. What's the guitar smashing? Another guitar. A house of cards. Look at that, the Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
Is that the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
The Eiffel Tower. I don't know my landmarks. The Eiffel Tower. Okay. I don't know how many of these, Bach, how many of these do we have?
I think we have 7.
At least one more. Let's keep them going. I don't know. How many more do we got? Let's keep them coming. Gingerbread house.
Yeah.
Everyone just goes, yep, it's a gingerbread. Oh, I saw the little mint things. I saw the little mint windows. I saw the mint window. Yeah, it was a gingerbread house. Nice. Who saw the mint window? Is that how you figured it out? Yeah, the little mint window gave it away for me. That was a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. The white, you saw the white frosting? I didn't see the white frosting. All right, how many more of these we got, Ryan? Keep them coming. What is a hamburger?
Spaghetti ball?
A meatball? Meatloaf?
Meatloaf, yeah.
Fake meat? Tofu? It was a giant meatball. Okay, is a giant meatball just a round meatloaf?
I say yes.
No, it's not. I
Yes.
thought I was like being
I
a
think
genius
so.
there. I
Yes.
think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. Loaf or a ball? Shape.
Same thing.
Shape. Okay. Are there more of these? I don't know how many there are. Is that it? One more. Okay, last one. Last one. What do you got? What do you think it is? A Mountain Dew. What?
Lava lamp.
Lava lamp. Oh, that's totally
Yeah.
a lava lamp. That's a lava lamp. Yes. Nicely done, whoever guessed lava lamp. Well played over there. I heard it from this direction. Nicely done. All right, props. I think that's our game.
Yep.
Thank you for playing. That's a really long title. I'm not going to explain that again. So thank you for playing the long-titled game. That was wild. Explode slow-mo. Yay. Oh, my. All right, so about 80 years ago, an author by the name C.S. Lewis wrote a book called The Screwtape Letters. And if you've ever heard of this, or if you haven't, what this was a fictional book. It's all make-believe. It's like, it's a pretend book. But the way he wrote it was as if it were like a letter from a senior demon, like an experienced demon, writing to like a younger demon. So the older demon, his name was Screwtape. This younger demon, his name was Wormwood. And he would write these letters as a way to like give advice or like strategy to this new younger demon about how to manipulate and deceive a person into believing things that weren't true about God or other people or about themselves. And so that's what all these letters were about. And so we thought we would make a few of these letters of our own to start this conversation that we're going to be having over the next 4 weeks around identity. So check out the first of these 4 letters.
My dear Wormwood, you are well aware of the affection our enemy has toward his creation, his humans. But I am pleased with how oblivious your patient is about this. Though she is made in the very image, the very identity of our enemy, she seeks to find her identity elsewhere. But do not get overeager in pointing this out to her. No, the trick is in the slow and subtle. As she mindlessly scrolls through her phone, quietly draw her attention to the anger, the outrage, the hatred she sees as she scrolls. Normalize this. Soon, her heart will become numb, even callous towards these kinds of images. The goal of this, of course, is not merely to get her to stop feeling, quite the opposite. Once she has grown callous toward compassion or mercy, or dare I say even love, that is when you must do the work of us versus them. Get her to believe she must choose sides. She must see herself as the righteous and see all who disagree with her as her enemy. Yes, in this, she will begin to feel the very anger, outrage, and hatred that she saw in those images. But now, she will feel them towards her own. The very people who, like her, are made in the identity of their Creator, she will now see as her enemy, as those who she must fight against. If you do this successfully, my dear Wormwood, you may just yet win another soul and take with you a multitude more. Your wise advisor, Screwtape.
Is like the deep, creepy demon voice. Oh, I'm super excited because we are going to begin a brand new conversation that we are calling Unknown. And in this, for the next 4 weeks, what we are going to be talking about is identity, right? Because so many of us, we live as though we are unknown, that we hide behind these different kinds of identities and leave behind the identity that says that we are fully known. Now, in this first letter, did anybody like resonate with the girl that was being targeted in this? Right? I like for me, like I listened to this and I immediately could like put myself in her shoes, because the whole idea that like she's scrolling through her phone and everything she's looking at is filled with anger and outrage and hatred, right? And that's like so much of our world today. That's so much of what the world looks like today. And like, it's nothing new, right? I mean, this is all stuff that we've grown up with. This is stuff that's just like normal life of what is going on around us. And what's crazy to me, though, is that nearly every social media and news outlet actually designs their algorithms around the idea that you will get angry, outraged, and hate-filled. Isn't that crazy? That they actually design algorithms around pushing that kind of stuff into your feeds, because that's the kind of stuff that gets more clicks, more likes, more comments, more engagement, more reaction from us than anything else. So they shove it into our news feeds. And at face value, it's actually, like at face value, that's actually kind of a good thing. Because we should know whenever there's corruption or injustice happening in the world, right? Like, we should be informed about that so that we can actually do something about it, right? Like, at face value, that's a super good thing that's how those platforms would work. But what's also happening is that, like, underneath the surface, those feelings of anger and hatred and outrage just become normal to us. They become these normal, like, underlying feelings, and just boiling underneath the surface that we are completely unaware of, because it's just normal now. And now, whenever we see something that is just like offends us a little bit, or we just dislike it just a little bit, or like we see those things, but they're just upset us even just a little bit. We now get that same amount of anger and outrage and hatred towards these smallest little things. That's like this whole idea of like cancel culture, that's where that comes from. It's because we feel so much outrage when somebody has a different opinion than us, or somebody that disagrees with us, that we just say, you know what, then I'll just get rid of you for the rest of your life. I'll cancel you from my life. Right? And what we do is these feelings of anger and outrage and hatred, they're so much there, but we try to make them so normal that when they come out of us, we try to justify it, right? Because they deserve my hatred for what they did, right? They deserve it. And all the while, without even being aware of it, we've now become the very angry, outraged, hate-filled people that we never wanted to be in the first place. that we were never meant to be. But what we do is because of this slow, subtle shift in our minds and without even noticing it, we trade our true, actual, God-given identity for a counterfeit, toxic identity instead. And like I said, this whole conversation over the next 4 weeks is around identity. What we want to do over the next 4 weeks is help you understand what your true identity is. Like who God actually created you to be, who God knows you to be, how you were created, how you were designed. Because if we don't get our identity right, we don't get our life right. And so the goal is to help you discover who you truly actually are in this series. Now, for this series, what we're going to do over the next 4 weeks is we're actually going to focus in on one chunk of the Bible, one passage of the Bible for an entire 4 weeks. And if you grew up in church, if you grew up going to Sunday school, you've heard this piece of the Bible before. In fact, if you're not a Christian, you've probably even heard this in other contexts as well. We're going to focus in on a passage of the Bible called the armor of God. Now, for most of us, if you grew up in church or grew up in Sunday school, when you were taught the armor of God, odds are, when it was taught to you, they completely missed the point of the armor of God. You see, I absolutely believe that the armor of God speaks some deeply profound truth about your identity and who God knows you to be. So that's where we're going to be for the next 4 weeks. It's in Ephesians chapter 6, and that's where we're going to start our conversation today. In Ephesians chapter 6, it starts like this. It says, "Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against the strategies of the devil." The devil. Now, I know that it's in our culture and like the world that we live today, it's not really popular and it's certainly not scientific to believe in spiritual beings, right? To believe in angels or demons or the devil. Like I understand that is like not a popular thing to believe, right? And I get it. Like if you struggle with the idea of there being spiritual beings, like I totally get it, because for me, they sound like things that should be like that come out of like a Harry Potter novel. Like they sound like some kind of mythology that like just got carried into the modern world. Like I get it, but for me personally, and really truly, only speaking about myself here, I actually do believe in demons and the devil. I believe in those, and I've got a lot of reason to believe in that. But perhaps the most compelling reason for me is because Jesus believed in them. And if the same guy who predicted his death and resurrection and then it came true, if he believed in demons and the devil, then that's good enough for me. So for me, as we enter into this conversation, whether you believe that demons and the devil are real or whether you believe that they're just like a metaphor for evil in the world, I still believe that this conversation is going to be helpful for you in discovering a more beautiful identity than maybe the one that you're currently living in right now. Now, this passage, it starts by saying, "Be strong in the Lord," right? Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. To be strong. Like I love this. It doesn't say wait to be strong. It doesn't say ask to be strong. It doesn't even say pray about it. It says be strong. Be strong. Own it. You see, there's part of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. That when you choose to follow Jesus, God gives you this new identity, this new person that you now are. And when you choose to follow Jesus, you receive this new identity, and life is all about moving more and more into the reality of your new identity. And part of your new identity is that you are strong. You are strong. That the same power that was in Jesus, the same power that healed the sick, that raised the dead to life, that the same power that conquered sin and death and resurrected Jesus from the grave, that's the same power that's inside of every follower of Jesus. It says, be strong. And yet, most Christians, most of us, myself here,
we choose to live as though we are completely powerless. We live like we're weak, like we just act like we're weak. And we live so fragile and easily offended. And I think the reason for that is because we choose to fight against the wrong things, and we fall for the strategies of the devil, the schemes of the devil. And that's what I want to help you see tonight. Back in middle school, I played basketball. Short Brian here. Yeah, I played basketball, and I was not good. I was great at defense. I was a terrible shooter, but I played basketball. I started when I was in 3rd grade. When I got into 5th, 6th, 7th grade during the summer months, I was on a traveling basketball team where we would just travel all over the place. We'd play basketball all the time. And I had a teammate, John, who was one of the best basketball players that I have ever seen, and he was on my team. John was phenomenal. As a 5th grader, he could stand pretty much anywhere on the court and shoot it and make baskets all day long. I mean, he would, during games, he would shoot from 5, 10 feet behind the three-point line and drain it almost every single time. I mean, John was unbelievable. As a 5th grader, he could dribble between his legs and around his back and do all break people's ankles. John was so good at basketball. He would steal the ball. The one thing that I had on John is that I was a little bit faster than him, so woo! But that was it. John was so good at basketball, and John was, to this day, one of the worst people I've ever met. He was so mean. John was the kind of person that, in practice, whenever somebody would be a little bit out of position or would make a little bit of a mistake, or John would be the first person to start screaming at his teammate, to start screaming at them and make them know that what they did was dumb. He'd say things like, I can't believe you missed that shot. You're such an idiot. Why didn't you pass the ball? What's wrong with you? There's a time for me in the middle of a game where I went up and shot a layup, and it should have been really easy, and I missed it. And instead of going back on defense, John stopped, got right in my face, and called me a moron for missing a layup. That's who John was. I hated John. I absolutely hated John. He was my teammate, and he was my enemy. He made everyone on my team feel less than. He was absolutely the worst person that I'd ever met. You guys ever, you have someone like that in your life? Someone who's just an absolute jerk? Someone, and I think we all have that someone that when you picture them in your mind, they just bring up a little bit of anger in you. You think of them and you just remember the horrible things that they said or the horrible things that they did. When you imagine them in your mind, you get that little gut kind of wrench, feeling. We all have those kinds of people in our life. And there's just a reality that some people in this world are just bad people. And yet, they are not your enemy. It goes on, it says that we're to stand firm against the strategies of the devil. It says, for we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, against evil spirits in the heavenly places. Those are all words and titles and for demons and the devil, right? That's what those are. And did you catch that? It says that we are not fighting against flesh and blood. You know what that means, right? That we're not fighting against people. That people are not your enemy. You see, I'm absolutely convinced that if we, humanity-wise, if we were to get just this one truth right, that nearly every piece of the world that is broken would be healed. You see, Jesus taught a lot of things, but there's one thing that he taught that Christians and non-Christians, we quote all the time. It's a thing that we know about. In Matthew 5, Jesus, what he says is to love your enemies, right? You've heard that before, right? Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Well, as Christians, what we often do is we hear that, love your enemies, and then what we think is, okay, well, what Jesus is actually saying is that it's okay to have enemies, we just need to love them. But that is absolutely antithetical. It's just completely opposite of who Jesus was. That Jesus never positioned another human being as his enemy. Jesus never made someone else his enemy. In fact, what did Jesus do? How did Jesus see every human being? He saw them as someone worth dying for. Every single person that Jesus saw was somebody that had unsurpassable worth and value. That every single person that Jesus saw was somebody worth giving his life for. And as followers of Jesus, that's what we're to be taking our cues from. When Jesus says to love your enemies, he's not giving you permission to have enemies. What he's saying is that when you choose to follow Jesus, there are people who will see you as their enemy. Love them anyways. Love them anyways. You see, love is one of those core pieces of our identity. In fact, I'd say it's the core piece to our identity, is love, is to know that you are loved and to be loved and to give love and to love the people around you. Love is meant to be the core of who you are. Because you and I, we were created to need each other. That in order to love, you have to have a giver and a receiver. You have to have more than one person if you want to experience what love is all about. That we were designed to need each other. We were designed for each other. We were designed to be in community. That because love is meant to be a core piece of our identity, we were made to do this life together, to bring about more good into the world because we're moving together. But as long as we see each other as our enemy, we'll never know the fullness of love as our core identity. You'll never experience it. And here's the deal. You actually know this already. You know that this is true already because you live in a world that positions you to see everyone else as your enemy. Maybe not everyone else, but you always have to take a stance where someone else has to be your enemy. And I know this because, again, okay, let's just take the election season that's coming up, right? But here's the deal. You have to pick sides. You have to choose one person or the other. You have to, right? You have to. And once you pick one side or the other, you have to see the other side as your enemy because they're evil. They're the problem. They're what's wrong with America. And no matter what side you're on, you have to see the other side as the enemy because that's how the election tries to position itself. Let's even talk about something even more important than an election. How about the racial injustice that's been boiling over in our country over the last months and years, right? That no matter where you stand in that, you have to find somebody else as your enemy. That either they're the problem and they're what's wrong with the world, they're what's evil, and so you're my enemy. And if you're further down the line of justice, well then you're my enemy because you're not doing justice the way that I'm doing it, or you're not doing it in the right way, and so you're the enemy. You're what's wrong with this world, and we have to position someone else as our enemy. Or how about those people at school, right? We all have those people who act like they're prettier than everyone else, right? Those people who really are actually the smartest one in the room. But it's not enough for them to be the smartest person in the room. They have to make everyone else know that they're dumb. Or how about those people who are just always loud and obnoxious? That you sit in class with them or you watch them on Zoom and they've always got to be distracting. They've always got to cause problems. They always got to be the one to try to crack a joke and it's really uncomfortable and nobody actually laughs. They're just loud and obnoxious. Those people, right? Those people that just fill in the blank. So they're your enemy. You see, and instead of seeing them as people loved by God, as people who have unsurpassable worth and value, as people worth dying for, we see them as our enemy. And what I want to challenge those of you as Jesus followers is to stop seeing people as your enemy and start seeing them as people in process, just like you and me are in process. John, who I played basketball with, he was just an absolute jerk. One of the meanest people I've ever met. He was horrible. He was so mean to me. He was so mean to my teammates. It was embarrassing being with him in games because of the way he'd react and scream at people. He was just the worst. He was my enemy until I met his dad. John's dad was just like John, but on a whole nother level. John's dad would come up to our practices on occasion, and from the sidelines, he would just scream and belittle John in front of the entire team. That if John took a shot and missed it, you'd hear John's dad screaming for about the next 25 seconds. That if during a game John were to try to steal the ball but miss, you'd hear John's dad yell, "John, you idiot!" from the stands. During halftime, when the rest of the team would cuddle up and talk about a new game plan, John's dad would pull John aside, get right in his face, and just start screaming at him so that our team and the opposing team could see it all happening. You see, John wasn't my enemy. John was just a little kid doing what he always saw his dad doing. John was just in process. In high school, I had a friend, Carl. And Carl was the kind of person who smoked pot every single day. That was his life. He would smoke pot. On occasion, he'd do harder drugs like ecstasy. And Carl, he was the partier. On the weekends, he was the guy who would party, who would get hammered, that I would have to drive home on occasion. That's who Carl was. He, if he had a girlfriend, it didn't matter. He'd still sleep around with people. He would skip school. When he was at school, his teachers just hated him being there because of just how rude he was to them and to his classmates. Carl got to the point where he would skip school and he would break into other people's cars and steal their stereo systems. You see, I never understood why Carl would live like that. Who would choose that kind of life? It just felt so meaningless, such a waste of life. I tried to be nice to Carl, and we were kind of friends or whatever, but I just could not understand why he would choose to live like that. He was so many people's enemies. And then about a year after we graduated high school, I was hanging out with Carl and a couple of our other friends, and again, he had been drinking too much. And that night, it was just he and I having a conversation, and what he told me was that back in 7th grade, he was molested. And when he told his closest friends about it, instead of them rallying around him and caring for Carl, they actually made fun of him for it. And then they went and told the rest of the school about it, and so that the rest of the school started making fun of Carl about it. You see, what I learned and what I realized is that Carl was the way that he was because he was just trying to numb the pain of the wound he'd experienced back in 7th grade. You see, no matter how many people I've seen as my enemy, when I came to know who they really were, I understood that there was a story behind why they were the way that they were. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning and just decides to be a crappy person for the rest of their life. Right? What happens is a series of events, a series of moments that draws their heart and their mind further and further away from their God-given identity as people loved, as people with unsurpassable worth and value. That they choose to believe a lie, and it changes who they are. They're people in process. You see, I think this is why Jesus was the way that Jesus was. I mean, no matter how evil or mean or bad or misguided a person was, Jesus never positioned them as his enemy. That no matter how messed up a person was, Jesus always saw them as someone worth dying for. You see, when you choose to follow Jesus, when you choose to actually follow in the footsteps of Jesus and do what Jesus did and live how Jesus lived, you choose to give up your right to make enemies out of people. And you see, when you stop seeing people as your enemy, the devil loses his grip on that part of your identity. That no longer can he twist the anger and the outrage and the hatred in you to be directed towards another person. And now you're free so that whenever somebody says or does something horrible, instead of that anger and outrage and hatred coming out of you, you start to have compassion for that person and understanding towards them. Because they're not your enemy anymore. They're just a person in process. You can now see them as somebody who doesn't need to be hated or belittled. They're someone who needs to be loved and healed. And that happens when we can step into that space with love in our hearts towards that person. That when we choose to stop seeing people as our enemy, we are now free to start loving them the way that Jesus loves us. You are not my enemy. You're not my enemy. Our fight is not against flesh and blood, right? Our fight is not against other people, but against those spiritual powers that come and just chip away at our identity and the identities of the people around us. And the first way that we can push it back, the first way that we can fight against that is by stopping making enemies out of each other. Now, to wrap this up, I want to lead us in a little bit of an exercise together. And this is something that I learned a number of years ago that has absolutely helped me when it comes to prayer. See, I'm the kind of person that prayer has never been like a natural thing for me. There's some Christians who they're prayer warriors. They know how to pray really well, and I'm not that person. I never have been. But I know prayer is vital and it's important. And so somebody once taught me this different way to pray, and it's completely changed the way that I interact with God. It's a kind of prayer that's called imaginative prayer. Imaginative prayer. And how it works is, prayer is about you ask God for things, or you talk to God and you listen to God. But in imaginative prayer, what it is when you close your eyes and you start having a conversation with God, you actually, in your imagination, using your imagination, you try to picture as vividly, as clearly as you can, what it is that you're praying about. And I want to actually lead us in an exercise where you are going to do that right now. So what I want you to do, whether you're here or you're watching online, I want you to just kind of get comfortable where you're at. You can take a prayer posture, whatever that might mean for you. But I want you to get comfortable, and we're going to take just a minute, and we're going to do imaginative prayer together. And I want this, hopefully, to be an exercise in helping you to stop seeing people as your enemy. So get comfortable, close your eyes, and we're going to use our imaginations, okay? As we go into this, I just want to say, Jesus, I pray that you would be with us, that you would be guiding us, that you would be healing us, and that you would be bringing the truth of our identity to focus when we do this. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes, and as clearly, as vividly as you can, I want you to imagine that person who is your enemy. That person who, when you think of their face, that little bit of anger comes up. You're just reminded of the hurt that they've caused in your life. I want you to, just as clearly as you can, imagine that person who just the thought of them, turns your stomach a little bit. Now, that might be a parent or a step-parent. That might be a coach or a teacher or an old friend, maybe an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. For some of you, this is hard, but for some of you, that might actually be yourself. Whoever that might be, though, I want you to, as clearly as you can, try to picture them in your mind. And whatever, feeling comes to the surface when you, picture their face, just let that feeling come. All right, but I want you to, as clearly as you can, picture their face, picture their hair, picture the clothes that they're wearing. I want you to picture that person. Now, using your imagination, what I want you to do is I want you to walk up and get face-to-face with that person. And we don't have to worry. You can take any mask off that you have. There's no COVID in your imagination. but I want you to stand face to face with them. And one of the hardest things to do with your enemy is to actually stop and look them in the eye. And so what I want you to do is stand face to face, and I want you to look them in the eye. Using your imagination, I don't want you to say this out loud, but just in your mind, what I want you to do is look them in the eye, and I want you to tell them something. I want you to tell them, you are not my enemy. Tell them that. You are not my enemy. I want you to tell them, you have unsurpassable worth. Again, still looking them in the eye, I want you to tell them, you are loved by God, and I am going to love you like that too. You are loved by God, and I'm going to love you like that too. Amen. That exercise is something that I give to you as something that you guys can do on your own. For me, I've had a lot of people that I've seen as my enemy in my life, and I've had to do that exercise so many times. And what's crazy is that every time I do that with somebody, there's a piece of forgiveness that I can give and extend. There's a piece of my identity that comes back to the surface, that bitterness and that anger and that hatred has begun to get chiseled away. And I'm so much more of a compassionate person now, an empathetic person, that even if people I disagree with them, or people that do just horrendous things, I can still see them with some kind of love in my heart, because I understand my true identity. And I want that for each of you as well. Because one of the core pieces of your identity is that you are loved and you were made to love. So if that's helpful for you, I encourage you to do that. A little bit more quickly, sporadic in the moment way of doing that I used to do in high school is I'd walk the halls. If I saw someone that had hurt me in the past, or someone that just made me angry, or I assumed something of that person, that whether it was true or not, it made me angry. Whenever I felt that little ugh in my spirit towards someone, what I would force myself to do is, in my mind, as I walk past them, I'd say, you're loved by God, I'm going to love you like that. You're loved by God, I'm going to love you like that. You're loved by God, I'm going to love you like that. And I would do that for every person that I'd walk by, that I'd just get that little in my gut. And you could do that. As you're sitting on Zoom watching your class, and there's always that person, you can just go, you're loved by God, I'm going to love you like that. And as you begin to do that, love will come back to being a core piece of your identity. So I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to head into our growth group time together. But before I pray, I want to just make an invitation for anybody who might be here, that if you don't yet have a relationship with Jesus and you're interested in that, would you come find me after this, or find one of your leaders? If you're watching online, send a message in the comments, and I'd love to get back to you. But what I want to do is help you take your next step in your faith journey. And for some of you, maybe that means giving your life to Jesus for the very first time. You know, we have this way of celebrating when somebody takes that first step of faith here at Redeemer Youth, is that every time somebody says yes to Jesus and gives their life to Jesus for the first time, we hand them a light bulb. Because Jesus says that when you give your life to him, you become the light of the world. And so as a symbol of that, we give them a light bulb and we have them put it in our light board. Now, we have a brand new light board for those of you who have been looking at this over the last couple of weeks. Over the last few years, we've seen over 170 people give their life to Jesus for the very first time. And we now have a bigger board that's got over 300 spots for more people to give their life to Jesus. And if that's you tonight, if you are one of those people that are ready to give your life to Jesus, we'd love to get you a light bulb and help you take your next steps in your walk with Jesus. But for the rest of us here, I want to pray for us. I want to pray for us to begin to walk more fully into that identity of love that Jesus has given to each of us. So let's pray. Jesus, I'm so thankful that you are a God of love. God, I know that for me, when I think about my own life, the choices that I have made in the past, that I should be your enemy. And yet that's never how you see me. That's never how you see any of us. Because you see us with love. You see us as people worth dying for, as people that are full of unsurpassable worth and value. And Jesus, if that's the way that you are, I know that that is how you have created us. In fact, over and over and over, that's how you tell us you created us, is to be people who know that we are loved and people who give love as well. So Jesus, would you help restore that piece of our identity? For anybody in our life that we see as our enemy or we've positioned them as our enemy, and for some of us that might be ourselves, for some of us that might be a person, and for some of us that might be an entire group of people that we see as less than. Jesus, would you begin to break that down in us so that we would more and more walk in the identity of love that you've given us? Jesus, we pray these things in your name. Amen. Amen. So right now, we are actually going to move from here to go into your growth groups. So if you're here and you don't know where your growth group is meeting, just go with a friend and they'll get you to the right place. If you're watching online, the Zoom ID is down below. We've been having some wireless issues, so log in, but you might have to navigate a little bit with us if you're watching online. But for the rest of us, let's stand together and we're going to take our step. If you're watching online, you too can stand with us and take your step with us. Let's say these words together. Each week, we take a step to signify our continuing walk with Jesus Christ. 3, 2, 1, step. Thank you guys. Have a good growth group.